In Florida man does the do news, Florida woman doused herself in Mountain Dew to erase DNA after killing a roommate in Daytona Beach. I'm not sure why the Florida woman thought Mountain Dew would erase DNA, but she did, apparently. So she's like, how about I do the murder? And how about I cover up evidence of the murder with the Mountain Dew? The Mountain Dew did not work. The Mountain Dew did not work, as it turns out, for erasing DNA. Mountain Dew, not a good substance to use to erase DNA evidence. Let's learn a little bit more about doing the do. From Daytona Beach, Fox 35 News is learning more about an elderly man's murder. Police say the woman arrested for the killing tried to get rid of DNA evidence by pouring Mountain Dew all over herself. She's in a sticky situation. Nicole Max pleaded not guilty to the murder originally, but now her lawyer says she's not mentally fit. The woman who's suspected of killing her 79-year-old roommate allegedly doused herself in soda in an attempt to erase evidence on her body, according to the arrest report. She poured Diet Mountain Dew. That was the fatal flaw. It was the Diet Mountain Dew. If she'd used one with sugar in it, it would have worked. All over her body when police told her they were going to collect DNA as part of the investigation. So apparently the police are already there on scene. They're like, we can't help noticing your roommate is dead. We'd like to collect DNA that might be on your body. And she responded to this information by then immediately trying to pour Mountain Dew all over herself. I think that this might be perceived by a jury as evidence evincing a guilty mind. Possibly. The DNA was later found on the handle of a bloody knife found lying next to the victim's body that they shared. That's a clue. So the roommate is dead. Here is a bloody knife. Your DNA is on the handle of the bloody knife. But we'll never figure out it's your DNA because Mountain Dew. Okay. Nicole Max, who was 35 and also living with a 71-year-old roommate, which seems slightly odd, but okay, was booked into jail on August 5th of charges of first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and resisting arrest with violence. During the early morning hours of July 1st, the Daytona Beach police officer was flagged down by a citizen regarding a fire at a home. You know, some of the ways these stories start, you're just a police officer, just, minding your own business, just doing the patrol work. It's early morning hours, July 1st, and someone comes running up to you and be like, there's a fire. Okay. When firefighters arrived at the scene, they extinguished the fire and found a man lying on the floor dead, who had blunt force trauma to the back of his head and multiple stab wounds. The interest of the police continues to peak. So this is fire there, and we can't help noticing that there's this man dead with the blunt force trauma and stab wounds. Stabbity stab stab stab. Okay, that's great. The man was identified as 79-year-old Michael Cirolsi per probable cause affidavit. Inside the home, police found a bloody knife in the victim's bedroom near his body. There was also blood found on the wall next to the bedroom closet. And HCCY bulletin was put out for the woman as a possible person of interest. Yeah, the 79-year-old is dead. The 31-year-old roommate is someone we definitely like to have a conversation with. Yeah. Around 3:30 in the morning, because that's how well this is going, an officer found the woman at a Crystal's restaurant in Holly Hill. She apparently had no shoes on, but was somehow able to still get service at the restaurant, which raises another question, and had blood on the side of her leg. A portion of the shirt she was wearing had been torn or cut off. That portion had blood on it. When officers approached her, she dropped a knife and hammer that she was carrying at the time at the Crystal restaurant. I wonder if the Crystal restaurant found any of this odd or abnormal in any way. That's my question. Did they call the police, or is this just another day that ends in Y? Authorities say that she changed her story multiple times when she was asked about, the dead guy in the apartment. She denied knowing who the victim was and said that she was homeless. She also denied carrying the hammer and knife that, she had dropped. She later admitted to being a roommate, but denied seeing him on the day she was killed. In regard to the knife and hammer, she claimed she often carried items like that. Okay. When asked about the fire, she became agitated, refused to speak, and requested an attorney. That's a good idea. Let's get an attorney involved. It's not going well, but yeah, sure. When escorting the woman to the car, detectives informed her they'd be collecting her DNA. It was then she asked the police for a drink. They gave her a Diet Mountain Dew soda. She began to procrastinate while drinking the soda. When a detective tried to grab the soda can from her, police say she doused herself with the soda can. This is special. Can I get a drink of something? Sure. Here's a Diet Mountain Dew. Can I have the Diet Mountain Dew back? I'm going to pour it all over my body. She tried interfering with possible evidence. She then began pulling and kicking on officers as they tried to secure her in the vehicle. On July the 28th, detective received DNA results back from Florida for the knife found next to the victim. They found the DNA of the victim on the knife's blade with her blood, her DNA on the handle of the knife. She has entered a plea of not guilty, according to court records. Her attorneys requested a doctor examine her to determine mental competence. She remains in jail without bond. Thus, that brings us to the end of the tale of Florida woman who has doused herself in Mountain Dew to try to arrest DNA after killing a roommate. We couldn't help noticing the fire, and we couldn't help noticing the dead body, and we couldn't help noticing the bludgeoning, and we couldn't help noticing the stab wounds, and we couldn't help noticing the knife next to the body, and we couldn't help noticing that your DNA was on the knife, and we couldn't help noticing that your clothes were torn, and we couldn't help noticing that blood was on your leg, and we couldn't help noticing that you tried to douse yourself in Mountain Dew. We have what might be determined in the trade reasonably articulable suspicion. Possibly. I don't know. Maybe a different judge would look at it differently. Do we have reasonably articulable suspicion that something is afoot? Unclear. But despite this lack of clarity, we are holding her currently pending a mental evaluation as it relates to the stabbing, bludgeoning, Diet Mountain Dew murders. And that, for the moment, brings us end of Doing the Do and the story.